Welcome back to Cocktails and Classics. This week we watched Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. In today's episode, we have myself, Cameron, Zach, Carlos, and Ben. And to kick this thing off, because we love torturing ourselves, I'm going to send it over to Carlos, and he's going to give us, it's not even a cocktail. He's going to give us this week's drink.
Thanks, Dylan. And thank you again, listeners, for tuning in again this week. So again, we watched Dr. Strangelove, and in honor of our film this week, we are making the Atomic Jaeger Bomb. So, those of you who are a fan of the original Jaeger Bomb are going to especially enjoy this extra explosive cocktail. Here's what you're going to need for this week's Atomic Jaeger Bomb. You are going to fill 2 shot glasses. One of those bad boys is going to have your vodka of choice. The other is going to have your Jaeger. Next, you are going to pour some energy drink of your choice, we prefer Red Bull, into a pint glass. Now, you're going to take the shot of Jaeger and you're going to let that vodka fall into the energy drink before you drink the rest of it. Now, for me, I'm more of a dark liquor guy. I like the Jaeger side of things, but this vodka adds an extra kick, which makes this one a pretty powerful cocktail. What do you think, boys?
So here's the thing about this one. I don't really want to go into the tasting notes of it because it doesn't matter, because you just do this one to get amped up and pretty drunk. So I think it's pretty good for those purposes, and honestly, like it's not that bad tasting.
Yeah, Jaeger Bomb's a utility drink. It's when you're drinking it, you know what you're trying to do, and this one with the vodka shot is pretty good at it.
This one is dangerous because I could barely taste the vodka in it. Like, I tasted the Jaeger and I tasted the Red Bull, but man, I did not taste that second shot of vodka at all. So it's dangerous.
I honestly couldn't even taste the Jaeger when I had it. I thought it was all Red Bull, but I don't really drink Red Bull that much.
I was gonna say you should try and drink Red Bull by itself.
I was gonna say because
it do Jaeger.
It's also gonna depend on how much energy drink or Red Bull you put in this, because the recipe calls for 4 ounces, but obviously if you want more of the Red Bull taste, you can put more in.
But yeah, it's good if you like Zach said, if you know what you're trying to do, and this is a pretty good way to do that.
Yeah, you could have a pretty good weekend in Vegas with this.
Right.
Or
I was gonna say whether
or lukewarm tequila.
Yeah.
Either one.
What great memories of lukewarm tequila and Red Bull for breakfast.
So if you want to try and make your own Atomic Jaeger Bomb, check out the recipe in the show notes below. This one comes to us again from Tipsy Bartender this week. So if you make one, send us a picture on Instagram at Cocktails and Classics Pod and use hashtag Cocktails and Classics. Or if Twitter is your thing, tweet us at Cocktails Class. We'd love to hear and see how your Atomic Jaeger Bomb came out, and maybe depending on how strong you like this bomb shot, you can fill us in on the details. We'd love to see how yours comes out, and if you haven't seen the movie Dr. Strangelove, sit back, sip on this week's bomb, sip or glug down,
Yeet this week's drink into your throat and watch the movie.
Or if you want to just go ahead and ride the bomb down. Enjoy the show though, however. There will be spoilers from here on out, so heads up. Otherwise, continue on for the post-movie discussion.
This week we watched Dr. Strangelove, a 1964 film by Stanley Kubrick. A quick plot summary: an insane general triggers a path to nuclear holocaust that a war room full of politicians and generals frantically try to stop. Written by Stanley Kubrick, along with Terry Southern and others. It stars Peter Sellers as Group Captain Lionel Mandrake, President Merkin Muffley, and Dr. Strangelove. George C. Scott as General Buck Turgensen. Sterling Hayden as Brigadier General Jack D. Ripper. And Keenan Wynn as Colonel Bat Guano. And Slim Pickens as
That's
Major
his real name?
King Kong.
Is
Yes.
Bat Guano?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Well, no, the one that gets
I know
me
he
is
calls him Bat Guano.
the actor's actual name after him that plays Major King Kong. His real name is Slim Pickens.
Really?
But I think
Yeah.
that's like a stage name.
Slim probably is, but
Still.
that's like an adult actor's name.
Not a major role in this movie, but James Earl Jones,
Yeah.
Yeah.
His,
I did
his
saw that in the
debut.
credits.
Lothar
That was-
Zog
Wow. I did not notice that.
Yeah, he's in the bomber.
in the plane.
He's the one that keeps trying to open the bay doors
Gotcha.
at
Yep.
the end.
Yeah.
This movie is rated 8.4 out of 10 on IMDb, making it the number 68 top ranked movie out of 250. It was nominated for 4 Oscars, including Best Picture, Best Actor in a Leading Role for Peter Sellers, Best Director for Stanley Kubrick, and Best Writing based on material from another medium. 1989, the U.S. Library of Congress included Dr. Strangelove as one of the first 25 films selected for preservation in the National Film Registry as well. So it is a culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant film.
Definitely.
Cameron, what were your initial thoughts to Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb?
My initial thought was, why the fuck is this called Dr. Strangelove? This dude is in the movie for all of 10 minutes. I don't understand. Other than that, I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was funny. And I thought the premise was really interesting. Like, I don't know that I've seen a movie like this before, and I don't know if I'll see another one again like it. But yeah, the premise was interesting. It was pretty funny, like in the way they were, the dark comedy way they were going for it. But like I said, I don't know why it's called Dr. Strangelove, or even the subtitle. I don't really understand either of the two of this movie.
Cameron, were the stakes high enough in this one?
The stakes are. The stakes were pretty fucking high in this movie.
Hard to get much higher, eh?
Yeah, destruction of all life on Earth you don't really get much higher than that.
But it's only Earth. It could have been the entire universe. Not high
could
enough.
have
Right. No, yeah, it's not high enough.
Right.
It's
Those,
not Avengers level.
those
Get it outta
damn
here.
Martians.
Not Avengers level threat where he's destroying the entire universe. Yeah, that's true.
I had seen this movie before, and I thought of it highly. I just, I guess I paid a little bit more attention this time, and really like caught those like minute details and like some of the lines, and I think those jokes and like quirky lines just hit a little bit harder this time for me, and I thought it was a lot funnier than the first time I saw it.
The dude talking about his fluids really skeeved me out.
Yes. Colonel
He mentioned
General
it,
Jack D.
Ripper.
Ripper.
Yeah,
Jack D.
he
Ripper,
mentioned
yeah.
it numerous times. He mentioned it one time and it was kind of like a throwaway line, and then later in the like conversation they play in the war room, or they like read over, he talks about his fluids and they're like, "What the fuck does that mean?" And they're like, "Yeah, we couldn't figure it out either." And then later he talks about his bodily fluids and like the fluoridation of the water and like turning the frogs.
Oh, dude, he
gay
would
and
totally
stuff
fit
like
in.
that.
He would totally fit in 2020 Fox News.
Well,
Or
or Infowars.
1958 Fox
Yeah.
News.
Like the,
I mean, either way, but he's definitely like Alex Jones's like protege here. Like he's definitely been listening to Infowars. He's been buying the like supplements that Alex Jones sells. Ben Shapiro, those types of people.
They're
and he's like,
they're fluoridation in the ice cream, the children's ice cream.
It's going to turn the frogs gay. Oh, wait, no.
He's turning the
That
frogs-
was the other guy. Sorry. I get them confused.
it was so weird. Like, I mean, I thought it was funny just because of like that's his whole motivation for this thing, is this like communist plot to destroy the fluids in his body, and like he's like, you wonder why I drink, whole grain liquor and
Rainwater liquor.
pure water or whatever. And it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
Like it goes way deeper than just like just general hate for communists. Like it's like, which is already like weird, but I mean, makes sense for the time. But then
I mean, have you ever seen a commie drink a glass of water, Cam?
I haven't. Oh my god. I think you stumbled upon something here.
or them in the same room.
Have you seen Dylan and
Oh.
a communist in the same room?
Yes.
Yes, because they're one and the same.
Hey, don't hate on my Che Guevara.
Oh my god. If you can't handle me at my Che Guevara, you don't deserve me at my
Fidel Castro.
Fidel Castro. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I love the part when he's like spilling all the beans of like his crazy just conspiracy shit, and he's like talking about like the women, and he's like, I don't give up my essence.
When he was talking about that, I was like, okay, this guy's an incel, but he's not involuntary. So he's just a cell because he seems to describe himself as
is
a
that
celibate.
what the "in" means?
No, but he said he's still
it's
been
involuntary
with
celibate.
But he's still been with women.
He has, but he won't let. Okay, he will not let women have his essence. Okay?
He gives them love, but not his essence.
Right.
Well, you don't want to give your essence away.
They sense his power and they seek the life essence. I do not avoid women, Mandrake, but I do deny them my essence.
Okay, in an alternate universe, I feel like this guy is very similar to like a Dennis Reynolds type character. Like I feel like I could see him going on a very similar tirade about his life essence and how women will not get his life essence.
I just love the names. Like, it's something I really picked up on watching this time. Everybody's name is like an innuendo or some sort of historical throwback. The Jack D. Ripper. There's the Russian ambassador's name is Sadetsky, which is like a throwback to sadist. There's a lot of like hidden meaning.
Merkin, President Merkin.
Yeah, Merkin Muffley. Like,
this movie is very edgy for like the 60s.
This was actually my first time watching this as well, which is interesting because I feel like I've seen a lot of, different sitcoms or shows make jokes and references to the movie. But for some reason in my head, I thought it was going to be a lot more serious than it was. I was not expecting as much of a comedy. And so I was surprised with what was going on. But also I was really glad it wasn't going to be just like very stoic. And for my first time, there were things that I feel like I would definitely probably need to go back to see if I would catch. But there were also just so many different, like, even small things like sight gags. Like, they're,
the signs and, like, the bases.
Yeah.
Like, peace is our profession.
Peace is our profession, and then there's just gunfights going off everywhere. When he pulls the machine gun out of the golf bag.
Yeah.
Just so many different things that you're just like, I can't believe. Or even just, like, silly things. When they go to open a safe, and then they have to rifle through plans A through to get to plan R. Just different things like that I was not expecting, and as they're happening, I'm just like, man, my perception of this movie was way off.
Yeah, it's a dark comedy, but the entire movie is played straight.
Yes. That was really interesting to me, that the fact that there really wasn't a, like, you have like your foil and then like your straight man, everyone's just playing the straight man, and yet somehow it still works, was definitely a fun surprise.
Well, most of the time, like the way it's shot, it's like you almost expect it to be like dark and dramatic, but then they come out here with like all these like subtle jokes, and like especially like any of the scenes in the war room, it's so like it's always like dark, shadowy, I don't know, like mysterious kind of, but then they're out here like making jokes, and I got almost like Twilight Zone vibes in some of the scenes. It just, but then, like I said, but I ended up still like laughing at the subtlety and like the satire.
To be honest, I think this movie really speaks to like the testament of Stanley Kubrick being this amazing director. I think every movie of his kind of was a different genre. I think that was part of his thing. But I think comedy is comedy and horror are two of the hardest genres to do, because it the joke or the scare has to hit. It has to be timed, it has to be paced, it has to be like planned. And I think looking at this movie and The Shining, I think both are done extremely well. and those are the two hardest genres. And I think that, seeing the other movies he's also done, I think this really speaks to him being this amazing auteur, and rightfully so. I think one of the best directors of all time.
This movie has a lot of there's the gaffes that you can look at and laugh, but there's also a lot of times where you look at the situation and you're like even the premise of the movie is like, oh, this general just went rogue, and one man who's hyped up on this fluoridation scheme is about to end the world. Like, that's sad, but the movie makes it funny. There's a lot of stuff like that.
Right. And it's almost it's very absurdist, I think. Like, it's like, yeah, how can this one guy do this? It's like, well, you authorized it, sir. You remember when we came up with this scheme and you approved it?
As you can recall,
right. It's very much the 60s version of the per my last email. You approved nuclear annihilation.
Even just other things like the president on the phone with the Russian, what is the title? I can't remember.
Tsar, I guess.
He was the prime minister or something like that.
Was it the premier?
Premier, there it is.
Did he keep calling him?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Premier.
Made up
But-
country. Doesn't exist anymore.
Just like, as he's on the phone with him, and he's like, no. Stop being so hysterical. I'm not being hysterical.
yeah,
How do
they're
you
fighting
think
like an
I
old
just-
married couple.
Yeah, he doesn't want to push his buttons at all. No, I'm sorry. I get
Yeah.
you're sorry, but I'm also sorry.
No,
No,
you
I
can't be
can
sorrier
also
than I
be
am. I am
sorry.
equally sorry as you.
Yes, no, I know I'm sorry that I'm calling and I haven't called you recently.
No, I would talk to you anytime, not just now.
But I'm trying to deliver some bad
call the chat
news.
anytime.
Right.
If it was ill-intentioned, you probably wouldn't have got a phone call.
I mean, that is true.
I love that I can't think of his what is his position?
Who?
The diplomat, I
The
guess, the Russian
ambassador?
diplomat.
Oh, the ambassador?
Yeah. Yeah, and the ambassador calls ahead of time. He's like, "Oh, watch out, he's a little drunk."
Right. Well, because he's clearly at a party or something. Yeah, you'll never reach him at his office. I'll try and phone him.
Keep your feet on the ground while you're talking to me. I think the opening credits are pretty
Oh my God,
iconic.
this scene is so funny. It's
The,
like a
docking between the
yeah,
planes.
it's like a love scene between a refueling plane and a bomber plane.
Yeah.
And it's really a scary thing because that bomber is carrying a nuke, but it's
Too.
played out like it's some sort of sexual type of thing, and there's love music playing in the background, and it's almost so sweet, but it's very scary at the same time, which makes it funny.
Fun fact: my grandfather flew those giant refueling planes, so jot that down.
Big Docker.
Yeah.
He actually
Loved
did.
docking.
That's a true thing. He flew those giant refueling planes where he had to basically needle.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say it was true that he loved docking.
I think he did love Docker.
Well, I mean, if he flew those planes,
Big
and those
Docker.
planes docked, but
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
he didn't love it necessarily, but he definitely was great at it.
Yeah, he accepted the docking.
It sounds like he unloaded some docking to himself.
R.I.P. Grandpa.
Oh, I was like, is he
Is
going to
the
listen to
dark
this podcast? And
Oh,
Cameron was
no.
like, no, he's
He's
not going to
not.
listen to this podcast.
He's not. He's not. He's dead.
I'll send it to him. I'll send him my
Is
thing.
this-
You want some dark humor? There's some dark humor for you.
Were there any memorable scenes for anyone?
I think the one for me was when Dr. Strangelove is talking to him and he's constantly trying to hail Hitler and
Oh,
he
yeah.
calls him my Fuhrer and he's like, "Nope, sorry, Mr. President." And his arm is constantly going up to the do the Sig Heil thing, and then he has to pull it down and the arm starts, his own arm is choking him out, trying to kill him from, stop him from stopping himself, basically.
So there's actually a real disease for people that lose control of one of their arms, and it has been named after Dr. Strangelove as
Really?
Dr. Strangelove syndrome, where if somebody
That's weird.
loses control of their arm and it goes off and does random things, they actually have. There's a medical term for it too, but it's known as Dr. Strangelove syndrome.
It's funny because that arm also has the black glove on it, so
Right.
it's
Can you see the other glove under his arm?
Yeah.
It's like tucked away.
Interesting.
Guess that's how you know the bad arm.
Yeah. There was another one too. I feel like the scene was also very iconic, or I've seen it before, whatever, but where he's fixing the bomb and then the bomb drops while he's still on it and he rides it down like he's a cowboy.
Yeah, that was pretty. That was probably the most iconic for me. Like I also
Riding
watched
the bomb.
I like sometimes I was watching the Watch Mojo series on YouTube, like the top 10s or whatever, and actually that was
That's
like
the one
of
with
the most,
terrible ads.
That's all YouTube videos.
Yeah, but it was listed in like one of the top 10 like iconic like character movie deaths or something. I don't remember the exact title, but it was just,
I feel like I've seen it in either like a TV show or a kid's cartoon, like something.
I think it might have been in Family Guy.
Okay.
I feel like of any show, Family Guy would probably be the one to do a reference to it.
There's a ton of scenes that I enjoyed in this movie. The beginning when they get to the war room and it's General Buck Turgidson. Every time he talks about the big board, and it's like, you can't let the Russian ambassador in here. He'll see the big board. But Mr. President, the big board, he's going to see the big board. He's like this is all of our plans. And all the board has on it is a map of the world, but like zoomed in on the Soviet Union. And there's just dots coming at it. Like, no, he's going to see the big board. Like, what is there to see? Honestly, it's a bunch. They know what you're doing.
But even towards the end of the movie too, when they're talking about all the planes, no. See, all the planes have been called back. Look at the big board; they're all coming back. And the other 4 were destroyed. No, it's all on the board, Mr. President. Look at the big board.
I think he does a really great job. Like, I feel like most of his scenes are very funny. Even when like his like secretary / mistress, I guess, calls him at the war room, he's like, "I told you never to call me here."
You know who?
No. Like, Bucky loves you. It's not just physical. I swear, I will make you Miss Turgidson.
Miss Turgidson.
So if we're slowly
Please don't make me Miss Turgidson.
If we're slowly re-rolling out the cast, Buck Turgidson, perfect actor to swap in. Ed O'Neill.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. It
He
was
even
such
looks
a
like
weird
him.
role. I thought he was actually one of my favorite characters just because he was so like out there and funny but still like totally believable in his role too. Like, I thought it was great.
This is exactly what the commies want us to think.
Yeah. He plays the super over the top machismo general like very well. And the one that's also sleeping with the secretary.
Today's like, if it was like a today's cast, I would think maybe Bill Hader for Dr. Strangelove.
Oh God.
Oh, for Doctor Strange.
Oh no.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I looked into it. The one of the references is, I think it's from the Simpsons movie. I think Homer is riding a bomb or something. So obviously but there's a lot of movie references for the Simpsons obviously, but yeah, I didn't think it was the Simpsons.
Yeah.
I thought it was Family Guy.
I think I talked about it before, but I think my favorite scene is when General Jack D. Ripper starts pulling the machine gun out of the golf bag.
Oh yeah.
And what is group captain Lionel
Mandrake?
Mandrake he's like laying on the couch. He's like, well, I would, but the string in my leg, my leg is gone. It's gone. I can't get up.
I got a gammy leg.
And then later on, as he's, trying to sit there and talk to him, like, no, we can do it together. Remember you were holding the machine gun and I was feeding you bullets?
It's like, feed me, and I was just feeding you, and I was feeding you.
The interactions between those two was fantastic.
Yeah, there's some great quotes that come out of those conversations.
Yeah, when he comes in with the radio too, and you're kind of like, oh yeah, Jack Ripper is lying.
Yeah, it's kind of where it starts to be like, because before you kind of have a sense of like something's not quite right, but then once it gets to that scene, you're like, oh, I know what he's done, kind of. Where he like he
Yeah, he
gave
goes over there and locks the door.
Yeah.
And then General or Group Captain Mandrake is like trying to get out. And he's like, it seems you've locked the door.
Yeah, he
Would
plays
you-"
naive for a bit. He's like, could you help me out? And then he's like, or before that, he's like, well, since you're acting kind of weird, I'm going to take command and I have authority to do this. And then he tries to leave and then can't leave. He's like, could you give me the key to get out?
Make me a cocktail of grain alcohol and rainwater.
Pure grain alcohol and rain.
Fix yourself something too.
Why wasn't that the cocktail for today?
Didn't
Do
have
you
any.
have pure grain alcohol?
That's called Everclear?
I
Ew.
actually,
God, no.
you guys could have come over. I have Everclear.
Pass. For many reasons, but that Everclear being the most forefront of them.
I mean, I believe if you water down Everclear, does not just become vodka at that point?
There's strict rules for what vodka can be, and I remember that
It's
because
grain alcohol.
I was watching a documentary that vodka has to be like the restrictions are so strict that it doesn't make sense to pay more for vodka. That was like the lesson of the video. But I don't know if
Yeah.
Everclear fits that bill. I think it's just like
Pay
the
more.
devil's asshole distilled into a bottle.
Yeah, like there's
mean,
no
like-
reason really to buy more like top shelf vodka.
Okay,
It's
so
just
you're
gonna
telling
taste
me
the
there's
same
not a
as-
difference between Popov
No.
and Grey Goose?
No, that's actually what the video demonstrated. It was like, hey, let's send it to a lab and see if they can figure out the difference between Pop-Off and Grey Goose, and they couldn't.
I guess, but you do a shot of Popov and then a shot of Grey Goose, and you tell me which one.
Well, no, there is like subtle differences. Like there's different mouth feels and like different like small
Tannins.
tasting notes.
different tannins.
There's different small tasting notes. But like basically I think people say if you're gonna mix it into a drink, there's no point in getting like Grey Goose.
Okay,
versus,
maybe you
like,
don't have to get Grey
Burnett's.
Goose, but God help you if you get friggin' Popov and try and drink that. It's so bad.
Oh, Popov the Sailor Man.
It's so bad. I'm sorry. There has to be a difference. I imagine in a blind taste test, you could tell the difference between Popov and. You could probably tell
No,
the
'cause
difference even between that and Smirnoff.
No, the thing about vodka,
No, you don't think so?
like why it became popular
No,
is
they couldn't.
because it's like it has no taste basically. Like sure it tastes a certain way, but once you like start making mixed drinks, is like it gets kind of lost in the sauce, and that's why it was so popular
I don't
more
know.
than like bourbon or rum.
I'd like
because
to
those
see the
have, like,
numbers on
distinct
that.
taste.
I feel
I sent
Popov
you
is
the
so
numbers.
bad. It's so bad. It can't. There
So
has to be a
what
difference.
what I'm hearing is blind taste test in the future.
Yep.
like we have
blind taste
to.
test
Next episode, here we go.
for the
We
season.
have
oh
to.
wait,
Like
when's our next big Ruski movie? When are we gonna do a big Russian
Ruskies.
flick?
Yeah, these Ruskies.
Can we do
Red Dawn. When are we doing Red
Ooh,
Dawn?
Red Dawn, the original.
My mom suggested
Not the
Red
one
Dawn.
shot in Michigan. The
Is the
OG.
Hunt for Red October about those
Ooh,
subs,
there
or is that
plenty
about
of
that?
plenty of Ruskies in the Hunt for Red October. Sean Connery Ruskies too.
I'm sure there are plenty, but you guys got a couple of memorable lines for me, quotables.
Oh, this movie's full of them.
There's no fighting in the war room.
Yeah, there's no fighting
Oh,
in
yeah,
the war
that's a
room.
classic.
I've never seen such behavior in the war.
I loved Colonel Bat Guano when he's like, just shoot the lock on that vending machine, and he goes, fine, but if this doesn't work, you'll have to answer to the Coca-Cola company.
At the end, Dr. Strangelove, Mein Führer, I can walk.
It's a miracle.
Gets out of the wheelchair.
There's so many.
His whole plot to like put him into the mine shafts, and it's like, oh, we'll just start a computer program and it'll pick the best selected ones for breeding.
But everybody
You're like,
dies.
okay,
It's Nazi Germany all over again.
yeah.
Yeah, there's so many lines. There's a conversation that takes place between the Russian ambassador and Dr. Strangelove, or Dr. Strangelove's like, of course, the whole point of a doomsday machine is lost if you keep it a secret. Why didn't you tell the world? The Russian ambassador answers, it was supposed to be announced at the party congress on Monday. As you know, the premier loves surprises. Or when General Turgidson turns and goes, because he's just like out for arms and he just wants the cool new toy, and he's like, gee, I wish I had one of them doomsday machines. No,
Or
you
when
shouldn't
they're
have
talking
it.
or when they're talking about the caves, and he's like, "We don't want to get behind in the cave race."
Yeah, he's like, Doctor. General Turgenson's like, Doctor, you mentioned the ratio of 10 women to each man.
Oh my
Now,
god.
wouldn't that necessitate an abandonment of the so-called monogamous sexual relationship? I mean, as far as men are concerned, Dr. Strangelove's like, regrettably, yes. But it is, as you know, a sacrifice required for the future of the human race.
Yeah.
The women will be chosen for their sexual
Yeah.
characteristics.
Did you guys know that there was a sequel planned for this movie? Kubrick supposedly wrote a sequel that picked up like
In the
from
bunker?
Dr. Strangelove
man.
in the bunker and trying to like organize this society living underground with like a 10-to-1 woman to man ratio.
Oh my god.
Jesus.
His computer program working and stuff. Never saw the light of day, but maybe we'll get it someday.
Do you guys remember the scene, or I don't know if it's a quotable or scene, wherever, where they check the contents of their survival kit?
Oh yeah, and they're
there's,
listing
like,
off all that shit.
So many things in there, like morphine, antibiotics, prophylactics,
7 packs of
nylons,
prophylactics.
lipsticks, chewing
Making up
gum,
a real good time in
gold.
Vegas with some of that.
Yeah.
Another perfect example of it's played out so straight, and the guy's genuinely shocked. Like it's the first time he's read it. Like, oh my god, like all of this stuff, really? All of it? Wow. Boy, could have a really good time in Vegas with some of that.
Well, I've been to one World Fair, a picnic, and a rodeo, and that's the stupidest thing I ever heard come out of a set of earphones. You sure you got today's codes?
Today's episode is brought to you by Audible. How it works is every month members get 1 credit to pick any title, plus 2 Audible originals from a monthly selection. Audible has a free, easy-to-use app that allows you to download titles and listen offline at your convenience. Dylan and Ben, what are your experiences with Audible?
So I used the Audible free trial a couple years ago, and I've gone back to it since. I listened to Pet Sematary by Stephen King, and I really like it when I'm driving on like long road trips.
I used it to listen to one of James Ellroy's LA quartet novels, The Big Nowhere. I would definitely recommend it to anyone on the go, whether it's just driving to work or for long flights. It's great. You can, listen to something on your phone, connect it to Bluetooth. You get to work, log into your work computer, and listen up.
To start your free 30-day trial, go to audibletrial.com/cocktailsandclassics, all lowercase. Again, that's audibletrial.com/cocktailsandclassics. After your free trial is up, it'll cost $14.95 per month. However, there are no commitments, and if you can't decide what to listen to at that particular month, that's okay. You can always roll your credits over for up to a year.
A little bit of a tradition around here is Zach takes over and gives us a little trivia quiz.
A little quizzy
Zach,
quiz.
Take it away.
Little quizzity quiz. Thanks, guys. We will jump right into it. First question. During filming, the crew accidentally filmed a secret military spy base over which of the following countries? Was it A, Canada, B, Greenland, or C, Iceland?
I have to think it was in those like weird scenes with the plane while they were trying to show the plane flying. I'm gonna say Greenland because I remember a lot of like snowy mountains in there, and Greenland is icy and Iceland is greeny, so I'm gonna go Greenland.
Greeny.
I will tell you, there are parts of Iceland that are very icy, though.
That's true, but I'm gonna
Also parts of Canada.
I'm gonna stick with my guns and go Greenland.
So I'm also gonna say Greenland because the first thoughts in my head were exactly what Cameron just said. The exact same reasoning.
Yeah, I mean, like, originally I was having, the same thought process, like, oh, like, I remember learning that Greenland has just a crap ton of ice. So, you know what, I'll trust that 5th grade geography lesson. I'll say Greenland.
So my thought process is Kubrick being British, cinematographer being British, and I'm pretty sure they shot in England. It's got to be one of the 2 European countries, Iceland or Greenland. And I kind of want to go Greenland based off of the reason everyone else has literally said is that it is icy. But I don't necessarily, I don't know. Because like, it does get snowy in Iceland.
Right.
So
Very snowy. And in
Yeah.
Greenland, too, though. That's the issue.
Just to be different, I think I'll go Iceland.
Well, Dylan, I'll tell you, Iceland is a beautiful country. Very expensive food, very expensive travel. And I'm sure Greenland's a lot cheaper, especially if you want to film a movie.
Ooh,
The Greenland was the correct
nice.
answer. Everybody but Dylan on the board with 1 point.
Also, didn't you say Iceland, everything closed at like 6 p.m.?
Depends on what time of the year you're there,
Oh,
because
okay.
they're so far north that they're in that like Alaskan territory where
Yeah.
it's like 23
Where
hours
it's,
of
like,
daylight
a lot of
or
sunlight.
nighttime. So you can walk around and it looks like 2 p.m, just cloudy skies, and there's like people stumbling out of bars. You're like, what the hell is going on? You check your watch and you're like, oh, it's the middle of the night. That must be it. So we got Ben, Cameron, and Carlos tied at 1 point. On to question number 2. In the movie, Major Kong says, a fella could have a pretty good weekend in Vegas with all that stuff. However, Vegas was not the original city said in the script. The line had to be dubbed over and replaced with a different city after filming. Which city does Major Kong originally reference? Is it A, Moscow, B, DC, or C, Dallas?
It's got to be Moscow, right? I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I want to make that my final answer, but like with the rubles, that makes the most sense of any of them.
I think on this one, I want to say
TIA?
Dallas on this one. Who said who says the line?
King Kong.
It's Major Kong.
Okay.
Major King Kong.
Yeah. I'll stick with Dallas on this one.
I'm going to say Moscow. Well, no, I don't know now. Because why would they have to dub over Moscow? They're talking about Russia. I don't know.
I am also going to say Dallas.
I am going to say Dallas, and the reason they had to dub over it is because they said a guy could have a really good time in Dallas with all that, and they probably shot it, and then in November of 1963, John F. Kennedy was assassinated,
That's a good
so they had to
point.
dub over it.
That is correct for exactly
Boom.
that reason. But a fun fact, the very first like screen test for like a public audience was actually supposed to be on November 22nd, 1963, which was the day that JFK was assassinated.
Wow.
So, interesting aside, with my grandpa passing in April, we went through like their attic and found he has the newspaper from the day Kennedy was assassinated and the day Lee Harvey Oswald was murdered too. It's really kind of an interesting.
Did he have them like in like the sleeves,
see.
or did he have it kind of like in a book?
No, they're
Okay.
loose, but I mean they're still in really good shape. But it was kind of interesting to see.
It's pretty cool.
Alrighty, so we have 2 separate ties. We have Ben and Carlos tied at 2 points, and Cameron and Dylan tied at 1 point apiece. Third and final question. How many Playboy magazine centerfold models appear in the film? Is it A, 1, B, 2, or C, 3?
I think I want to say 2.
I'm gonna go 3, and I'll give my reasoning later because I'm not gonna let these scrubs try and steal it.
I don't believe in this answer, but I have to beat out one of them, so I guess I'm going to say 1, even though I do believe it's at least 2 to 3.
Kind of want to say, I don't know, because there's obviously the actual Playboy like magazine we see, but the secretary I feel like was a Playboy model. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
She's probably a Playboy model.
But was that her in the photo?
It's a good
in the
point.
original?
That's a good point.
You know, I kind of want to go 1 for that, and I think I will. Maybe it's her both times.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a 4-way
Oh
tie.
shit! It's one. Is it really her in the?
It is one. Dylan nailed it.
Oh my
the
God.
Secretary, Turgidsen's secretary, was a Playboy centerfold model, June 1962, which is the same issue
Oh
that is
my
inside the B-42 bomber.
That's hilarious.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a 4-way tie. I don't know if this has ever happened before.
This has not happened, but
This
that
is
is
gonna
so
be a
funny.
Mimi tiebreaker.
See, I was thinking
Guys.
the secretary as well, but Dylan's fucking like voodoo magic. They're the same person. I did not see that coming. That's insane.
Yeah, I honestly didn't either.
So the tiebreaker question: how many times is the word fluids mentioned in the script?
In the script or in the movie? Does that distinction matter?
I don't think it does.
Okay, and this is closest without going over.
It's closest without going over. How many times is the word fluids mentioned in Doctor Strangelove or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb?
All right, I have my answer.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good
Yep.
to go.
All right, I'm ready. I'm just gonna show it.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
I said 6. What does yours say?
Mine's 7.
7. Fuck you. God damn it.
I said 12.
I said 6.
Ben, did you try to write 26 backwards?
Yes.
What's the
Guys,
answer?
We have a situation.
Oh,
Did no
my
one get it?
gosh.
Nobody
Is
got
everybody
it.
over?
Fluids is only mentioned 5 times.
I almost said 5. Fuck.
Same.
Almost said 5. But I wanted to beat out someone who said 5 and said 6.
So we'll move on to our second tiebreaker. Again, closest without going over. How many characters had names that are either double entendres or innuendos in Doctor Strangelove?
All right, I have a guess. Is that what you're guessing? 9? You seriously wrote 9? I put 8, you fucking cock. God damn it.
So we got 9, 8, 6, and 4.
Yeah.
Well, let me give you guys the rundown. There's Jack D. Ripper, which refers to the infamous London serial killer who murdered prostitutes.
Right, of course.
There's President Merkin Muffley, which refers to female body parts. A merkin is a pubic hair wig, and muff is slang for a woman's pubic hair, if you didn't know. There's Turgidsen's first name is Buck, and Turgid, which is a word describing an erect penis. There's the Soviet premier's name is Kissoff. The Russian ambassador name is Alexei D. Sadetsky, which is named after Marquis de Sade, which is named after the term sadist. The title character's name is Strangelove. There's also a Colonel Bat Guano and Major King Kong,
Oh my
which
God,
makes
is it
8 the correct
Holy
answer.
shit.
Oh,
Cameron is our winner.
See, I was thinking of it more in the more adult thing, so I didn't think about
yeah,
King
I didn't
Kong.
really consider a lot of those. Well,
Oh my God, I threaded the needle on that
There
one.
it is. 2 tiebreakers down. We finally have a winner. Cameron takes it away with 3 total points. That was a very close game. I loved it, boys.
Those who have seen it wrote down their ratings based off memory and nostalgia. And I want to hear your guys' ratings now. If you've seen it, is it better? Is it worse? And those who haven't, what did you think?
This movie is something that I watch a lot. It's a 10. Let's start there. Before watching it, after watching it, it's a 10. I don't know if there's a movie that I've seen that can be played so straight and so funny, and at the same time making an actual like worldly political commentary on the way things work and the way things used to work, and at the same time being meta and saying that the way things used to work and the way things work now is the same thing. I have a hard time. I think back to my reviews, and I gave The Shining a 10, and I can't rate Doctor Strangelove lower. I don't know if there's movies that I've seen that are better at doing what this movie does. I have to give it a 10.
Going into this one, I had given it an 8 out of 10. I had actually only seen it for the first time this year, probably around like January or February of 2020. So I'm fairly new to it. It doesn't hold much nostalgia to me, but I really enjoyed it. I think it's funny. I think it has a lot of quotables. It's really well shot, and I think it holds up. This is one of the older movies that we've done. Maybe the oldest.
I think
Is
so.
12
yeah.
Angry Men older?
12 Angry Men might be older.
Yeah, 12 Angry Men was 57.
Yeah,
Okay,
this is
so
63
that
or 4,
second
right?
oldest.
This is
then.
the second oldest movie we've done so far, and I think, as with that one, it definitely, I think people appreciate it today, and I think people will appreciate it. And as for me, on my second viewing, I think it improved for me, and I'll give it a 9 out of 10.
This was my first time also seeing this, at least all the way through.
Oh wow.
Obviously I had seen
Okay.
like a couple of the references with Major Kong obviously writing the bomb down, and just a few other pieces that were obviously referencing this movie, but so I really couldn't formulate too much of a rating going into it, but afterwards, I can appreciate it, pretty much the same things as Zach and Dylan said about how it holds up to today. And like I said, it doesn't matter, who who the politics involve or what country. I mean, the satire and irony that this movie creates around situations like this, where it's, like I said, it's people with their fingers on the button that could potentially make or break the existence of these continental superpowers. And I think for Kubrick to go in and say, hey, despite the events that are going on right now in the 60s with the Cold War, I'm going to make a satire about it. First of all, obviously I admire as being super, very bold. But then,
Yeah, the balls on that guy.
But then thinking about, with obviously the current events today, and it's like, is it really that different? You know what I mean? And the people that, people that at least us as citizens are supposed to trust with these decisions, that Kubrick takes it into directions like, well, are they more impulsive than you think? Are they willing to make some of these decisions like this? And with all that in mind, and seeing how it can hold up, obviously years from now as a classic, I'm gonna give this an 8 out of 10.
Along the lines of Carlos, I had not seen this movie. I'd seen
Wow, we've had so many people not see this movie.
Yeah, some of like the main, the King Kong riding the bomb down, or Dr. Strangelove kind of fighting with his arm in that. The ones that, a lot of times make the references on different shows. But I'd never seen it all the way through. And in watching it, I'm not going to delve into the politics and all of that. I think you guys covered that pretty well. I just thought this movie was such a great comedy. It's so well written. It's, like we said earlier, it's impressive to see a movie where every character is the straight man, and yet it still is so funny. There's no one to kind of play that foil to them. They're all just that character that are trying to straight-face react to the wild situations going on around them. I also think it's incredible that this movie has witty dialogue, sight gags, physical humor, everything in there, also built around this suspenseful moment that's going on and this kind of ticking clock in the background. I really enjoyed it. It's a movie I would definitely watch. I could definitely watch this movie once a year and probably still find something new to enjoy about it and love about it. I think it kind of set a standard for that kind of humor. I gave this movie a 9.5. I thought it was really good. Peter Sellers is amazing, and the entire cast just is phenomenal.
The one thing, well, I liked a fair amount about this one, but one of the main things I liked, which I kind of hinted at earlier, is that you can you could take away all of the comedy from this movie, and it would still be a pretty good like suspense drama type of movie. You could turn this into an entirely different movie. You just strip out the comedy bits and just add like normal dialogue, normal names, and it would still be a good movie. Like I really think he could have made this a good movie even if it wasn't a comedy. And so
this movie is based off a book called Red Alert, which is not a comedy. It's the same movie, but it is very serious about the end of the world. And Kubrick adapted this with Scott and made it a comedy.
Interesting. Yeah, I think he could have even done a good job of making just a direct adaptation then of just like a drama. And I always appreciate about that about movies where like they're comedies or maybe they're like, horror movies or what have you. But if you strip away those elements, it's still like a good movie. And so even without that, though, like you guys were saying, like, a lot of the comedy was good. It wasn't like laugh out loud funny, but it was more like something you just appreciate about the movie. The dialogue was good. A lot of the scenes were just shot really well and added to, even though it was a comedy, again, like the suspense of the moment and those types of things. And so I'm going to give this movie an 8 out of 10. I think it was a pretty good movie. It was also pretty short, which I personally like. It didn't feel like it dragged on very long. And and it has a lot of themes that I think are still interesting to talk about today and very relevant, especially when you talk about, the cost of human life and basically trading out lives for one another. I think those are really dark, but like interesting and important themes.
If you enjoyed this, don't forget to rate and subscribe. Check out our Instagram at Cocktails and Classics Pod and use the hashtag Cocktails and Classics to send us your movie and drink recommendations. Share us with your friends, and as always, watch responsibly.